What's going on, everybody? It's Ronan from the Green Mountain Rangers. This is going to be our weapons video. This is a highly detailed video where we're going to go over the way that we set up our primary weapon. Something that we want you to keep in mind when watching this video is that this is merely a tool. It does not make you a good player. You make you a good player, and the way that you set up your gun and the investment in yourself and your skill set. So don't look at all the fancy stuff that's just on the gun. Look at the theory behind it and why we do what we do. Our primary weapon is a Systema PTW. It's a 10.5-inch barrel. The first thing that we added is the Daniel Defense Mark 18 RIS 2 10-inch rail in FDE, or the flat dark earth. It's a great rail. We kind of went this direction because we had a lot of different accessories that we wanted to rail to it. So we needed the 1913, we needed the Picatinny rail, where a lot of people are running key mod or those slim tubular handguards. For us, the Mark 18 rail is the best one. It's the most amount of real estate. It's lightweight, super strong, and it just looks badass. So I think this rail for us is the best choice that we could have gone with. It's just super solid, served us really well, and I really like it. Also on the end, as you see, everyone runs the CAC or Knight's Armament Airsoft suppressor. It's QD. It will come on and off the gun, but generally we always run it in the configuration of having the can on the gun. We'll get into it. It's got two folds. It serves two purposes in our mentality, and it's an essential piece of gear that we always use. Coming back to the receiver, it's just like any other M4 receiver, but we run a flat top. You can see that we run a EOTech. This is a 551. One of the older generations with the LaRue riser. It's a great sight. It's one of the best all-around sights that I've ever found that serves you in close distance, far distance, rapid target acquisition, low light, bright daylight. It's a great sight, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Moving to the back, as you see, we have the regular Systema PTW crane stock. It is capable of holding the 9.6 butterfly battery or nunchuck battery that runs in the stock, and it's the same one that comes with the gun. I have not changed that out at all. We have the lighting system that we use is the Insight M3X. It's a 120 lumen LED bulb. This was called the SOPMOD version. It actually has a push pad on the back as well as the QD plugin for the momentary on switch. Then we have our the new Insight PEC 15 civilian legal version, the Class 1 laser. It has a IR illuminator, IR laser, and visible laser. It is one of the best setups and most clean setups that you can get for running an IR laser. We'll talk about that some more, but it's a great piece of equipment. But pretty much as you see, it's a standard Systema PTW that has just gone through a lot of changes and a lot of evolution. But this is our complete weapon system as you see it. I decided that the EOTech was the best one for airsoft for close force-on-force, high-speed gaming or engagements. The EOTech has a 65 MOA dot and a single MOA dot halo. The reticle is extremely large. I find that it's very easy to track a moving human target with that sight, as opposed to running a single dot that is really great when you're shooting real steel or you're shooting targets. But as soon as you start transitioning to you're actively shooting a person that's moving and shooting back at you, having that larger reticle, especially at closer distances, maybe 50 feet and in, is really great, because all you're really doing, we call that the EOTech reticle is sloppy. There's a lot of slop in it. You can just put the whole halo on someone's face or their upper torso, and you start pressing away with your airsoft gun, and you're putting rounds effectively in there. The gun is consistent enough for point of aim, point of impact that you can really don't worry about getting the perfect shot and putting the perfect dot in the center of the head. Really, you want to get that whole halo, that big reference point on target fast and start pressing away. It's super fast, and having the big bright reticle, especially like if someone shines a flashlight at you, or you look into into the sun a little bit if you're outside, or if you're inside and you're looking outside, having the bigger reticle, it's much easier to find instead of this single dot like an Aimpoint T1 or regular Aimpoint or a bunch of all the other red dot systems that are out there. The EOTech, it's really very easy to use, and I think for me the speed factor, it kind of gives you that ahead of the power curve, instead of having, you're worrying about taking the perfect shot with a single dot system. We say a lot of people who use ACOGs or power optics like an LCAN or something, that you're getting sucked into the game. You're starting to play Airsoft. Like you're just relying on how good your gun is and sitting behind cover and trying to take the perfect shot, instead of, all we have to do is you just lay fire on this dude. I'm gonna, keep flanking this dude, or we'll run this maneuver. And the red dot is really great for that. Fast shots, rolling out of cover very quickly, taking, reactive fire, really snapping on someone real hard, and, bounding to the next position. And that's what this gun's good for. This is the Knights Armament Airsoft suppressor. There's two reasons that we use the can. One is that for some reason, the usage of the suppressor, it throws the direction of your rounds when you're shooting the gun. The PTW without the can has a very distinct snap to it because it's got a short barrel. You can really hear that round kind of popping from wherever you're shooting from, and it makes people's heads turn and draws a lot of attention to you. When you put on the suppressor, it kind of muffles that ever so slightly and just kind of throws the direction of the sound, not directly bringing attention to you. More importantly, I find that we use the suppressor is because this 7 inches of real estate, it kind of puts your body in the best position possible when doing different techniques and maneuvers. Without the can, the gun is ever so short that most people, when they're shooting around a door frame or some cover, they'll get very close to it. And the term is suck up the cover. You want to get as close as possible so you mitigate the chance of you taking a hit. But when you do that, when you go to return fire, you're almost too close to it, and you're doing, you're kind of coming up over, or you're rounding a door frame too early, and you're exposing yourself to your threat. The suppressor puts your body at the perfect standoff distance for you to round that corner perfectly. Instead of broadcasting yourself, the can pushes you back and lets you kind of complete that technique ever so perfect, because it's pushing you back. It's actually a physical barrier that's actually saying you need to just stand back ever so slightly so you're not sticking the muzzle through a window and then you're behind the gun to get shot. So it's almost like a training tool, but it's effective as far as, reducing your signature ever so slightly. Something that's kind of interesting and one of our most staple piece of equipment is our infrared system and our visible light system. Currently we're using the Insight PAC-15 Class 1 laser, the civilian legal eye-safe laser, and the Insight M3X SOPMOD version. We'd like to run a dedicated white light and a dedicated IR light. Some people will say you can get the new Surefire that has the selectable head with IR spectrum or Viz spectrum. I like having both dedicated with its own switch, because there are certain times when you're using night vision or you're you're under nods, you're going to want to use white light. Sometimes it's advantageous to do so, especially if you're taking white light from another adversary who does not have night vision. It gets you in a situation where you could flash them and hurt their natural night sight by just hitting them in the face with some white light. So I like having both immediately at my disposal. The system that you see that I'm going to get into and explain is really the culmination of a bunch of years of experience of running setups that were not 100% perfect in my opinion. The one that I have right now, it's very difficult to find a flaw in the way that this is set up or my mentality getting to it. Well, I'll just tell you again what this is. This is the Insight PEC 15 iSafe version. So it has a infrared illuminator, an IR laser, and a visible laser. I have these. The reason that we run the IR laser on the gun is we always have the night vision equipment with us at all times. We wear it on our heads. You know, people make fun of us, oh, daytime nods. You run around the day with nods on. Yeah, cool, man. How many times have you run into a building with the lights out? I don't know. What do? You kick on your flashlight. Cool. We just click our nods down. It's really great because it's such a low signature movement. And if you have that capability, why would you not have it on you at all times and just make that part of your signature be second nature using that? We've kind of had that mentality. We've gotten to that point. So we always have the infrared laser on the gun at all times, just because it's just what we wear. There's no variation. There's no deviance in our setup. So it's just, we're confident. It's just, oh, I'm just using it at this second, or I can put this away. It's a really good capability to have. So I wanted to build a setup that was as capable, both using my right shoulder and my left shoulder. In the past, I used to run the Insight dual switch. So it's a switch that has the two buttons that will control your laser system and your light system in one package. I ran it on the Haley Strategic offset mount right here. It was really comfortable to use with my right hand, and then when I would transition the gun, I would shoot off my left shoulder, which happens a lot, especially in force on force, when you want to make your signature as small as possible. And when you're barricading, you can't shoot off your right shoulder because you're exposing too much of your body. You really have to get really good and shoot off your left shoulder. For me, I feel like the investment that I've made in my skill set and my training, it's very easy for me to shoot off the left shoulder, almost just as easy to shoot off the right shoulder. And you can say you don't need to do that, but I find that I get shot way less now from really just being able to kind of seamless transition, lefty, righty, doesn't matter. So now this system is built that instead of having to reach under the gun, if I was going to be shooting my reaction side, if I had to hit the pad, all I would have to do, what I'd have to do is I'd have to break my grip, my natural grip, and kind of manipulate it over here, which was very uncomfortable. So now what I built was I made a custom switch that is actually 3 Insight pressure switches. The 2 on the sides are what's going to manipulate my laser unit. So they're low enough in those offset, like the 2 o'clock and the 10 o'clock rails, that I can activate them with my thumb, both weak side and strong side, for lack of a better word, and I'm not obstructing the beams that they're broadcasting. And my natural grip is the same for both shoulders. So it's very easy for me to activate the laser. And then when I want to have the natural white light, it's just the one that's directly on the top of the rail. So it's very comfortable for me to use on either side. And it's the same exact reference point for both shoulders. And this is the only true ambidextrous setup that I've come across so far. I don't know why Insight didn't make a switch that was set up like this years ago, but now they probably will. Another piece of equipment that I've been starting to use a lot for a training aspect as well as a footage aspect is the tracer unit. I used to run it up in the past a lot, but I find that when I use the tracer unit now, I use it for 2 different reasons. One, I actually want to be able to show the other guys on the team where our targets are at, so I can put a bunch of tracer fire into a certain room or an area and let everyone else know the target that I'm shooting at. As well as when I review my helmet cam footage or my own personal training footage, I know distinctly where my BBs are going, especially that first round shot. A lot of times we pride ourselves on getting first round hits. in a game. That's really important. So with the tracer, I can really see the BBs on the footage way better than I can with just the regular white BBs. The tracer unit runs on 4 AAA batteries. It runs on the photoluminescent BBs that actually supercharge the BB as it's passing through this barrel extension with almost a camera flash. And it sends the streak of light in the BB going forward. It's very consistent to almost using the regular suppressor. You don't have the same properties as well as the sound dampening as the can does, but for the other aspect as well, as far as what you're shooting at and being able to see your rounds, it's a really good training tool. I really like it. Usually I use the green BBs and with a couple red in the end of my magazine, so I know when I have to do a speed reload. But it's a really good asset. It's a good training tool, but something you can't use all the time because you'll start to rely on using the BBs as your point of reference when you're shooting instead of your optic. So it's something I kind of use in sporadically, so I get the best of both worlds. Another important thing to do to your gun when you're setting it up is the tie downs for the retention of all the accessories that are affixed to your rail. We are very big proponents of setting up your rail with a micro carabiner and it's a paracord or shock cord that you can retain all your high price optics that are attached to your rail. My PEC 15, my EOTech, my Micro 123A caddy, it's all leading back to this micro carabiner that's permanently attached to my rail. I have that paracorded down, and then if I want to take something off, I just have to undo that little carabiner and take that piece of equipment off. But in case any of these ever loosened up or somehow got knocked off my rail, I would have that dummy cord there so that I'm not losing them somewhere across the field. There are a lot of things on the gun that I did that are kind of unique to me or individual to me. I did a couple things that, for me, it just kind of fit me, my personality a little bit. One thing is I run the Knights vertical foregrip or reference point. I find for some reason it's just the shape, the angle, the way that it kind of locks into my hand fits different than the Tango down. This one I feel is kind of thinner. For some reason, the way that the back of the ridge of my hand locks into it, I just find it very comfortable. And it's the one that I've always used, so I just didn't see a reason to change. One thing that I definitely do to a lot of different components on the gun that I've started to kind of see the benefits of is the stippling. I've found that the slimmer AR grip, I kind of ground off that thumb part where it's going to lock into your middle finger. I find it very uncomfortable. So I sanded this whole grip down, did a full stipple on the entire grip. I find that it's very comfortable to use even when you have gloves on. It locks into your hand very, very nicely. And, especially if it's wet outside or your hands are sweaty, you can really get a nice grip on the gun. I've also done a full stipple on the front of the Knights grip. It's very easy to kind of let that gun slip when you do a fast transition if this is all smooth. So with that little bit of texture, you can really just catch that really, really fast and know that you have a good reference point when you're gonna, trying to throw that gun over to your other shoulder. I also did some stippling on these MARUI index clips. They're holding some of my light switches in place, but also when I grip the gun, it's really nice to have that tactile sandpapery feel that really will kind of lock into your hand and lock into your grip. It's just very nice. It feels really good, and you really know that you have a firm grip on the gun, especially when you want to go punch that out. There's nothing slipping and sliding. You have a lot of feeling to it. Another nice thing that you can do to your gun as far as making it a little bit more comfortable to you in the way that you like to set it up, I started using this stuff called Chigru, which is moldable rubber. It comes in these little packets that you can, it's almost like Play-Doh, but you'll take it out, kind of rub it in your hands, and then you can apply it to different points on your gun to make it a little bit more user-friendly. I actually developed, started making a couple of these index clips. I use it for locking into my pointer finger and my middle finger, so that I actually have another little kind of hand stop reference point for the front of my gun, as well as filling in the trigger guard and grip mating point for my hand guard. So you don't get that, that AR burn on your middle finger anymore. And really, you can put it anywhere that you want to have, a little bit more texture or a little bit more body anywhere on your rail, so that you can have a little bit more of an index point to reference to. A lot of people ask us what type of magazines that we use for the gun. Generally, we've always used either the Systema magazines, the metal mags, or there have been some new aftermarket ones that have come out lately that have been very advantageous to the gun and to the user for a lot of different reasons. The metal mags were really great, but they were very heavy and they were very hard to do maintenance to clean, because you had to take them apart, stretch the springs out, and if you had some dirt in them, it was very hard to really clean them out. But we started using the MAGPUL PTS magazines. They're polymer. They're very similar to the way that the real PMag feels, and they have actually a QD spring detachment. When you take the shell off, you can take the internal spring out and clean the gun without taking the magazine fully apart. It's really nice, still same capacity, 120 rounds, and they're very durable, and just a really good magazine to use. Very lightweight compared to the metal magazine. We also did another enhancement to the gun to make it more efficient for left-handed reloads. We either use the Troy release or the Knights release. I currently feel the Troy is a little bit better because of where they placed the release button. The Knights is really nice because it's a little bit oversized, but it makes you bend your finger in an awkward position, where the Troy actually is really intuitive to where you want your finger to be to hit the mag release. Also, I find the Knights button on the other side is also a little bit more user-friendly, because it's an oversized button and it's raised, so depending on which angle you're engaging the button with, you can actually almost push it forward and ride it this way, and you don't actually have to get the perfect push in. I find this one to be the best of both worlds, running the Troy paddle and the Knights button. What I like about our Systema PTW and the way that we set this up is that this weapon system is totally applicable and totally capable in every environment that we're going to find ourselves in. Woodland game all the way down to a CQB game. We don't switch guns up. Where some people ask us, well, what's your outdoor setup? It's the same exact setup as my indoor setup, because it's my setup. It's totally ready and capable for whatever we're going to find ourselves in, and make sure that we were going to have every piece of equipment on the gun at all times, not have any ancillary pieces of gear. Well, this is our special piece of gear that we're going to put on in this situation. Everything that we have on here is permanently on there. Even if you're not actively using it that second, it's within a finger's distance of being able to be used actively. Pretty much, if you look at it, it's prepared for anything. Always be ready. After watching this video, we hope that you have a complete picture of the principles and theory behind our weapon system. It's something that's constant progression and a constant evolution. It's an organic learning system. So as we learn more skills and there's new technology that comes about, the gun may change, and we're going to change, but we're never going to stop learning.